Welcome viewers to our next episode of Expert Speak series brought to you by Aditya Organics, where we talk to people from various walks of agriculture to share insights, best practices on how sustainable farming or organic farming is taken forward. We've also earlier brought some agri entrepreneurs to share their journey and some of the learnings which they've got. Today, I have with me Sachin Bakshi. He's from Root Agro Vadodara. So he will be talking about his journey, on how it started from leaving his job in Singapore and coming here and starting off this venture, and also some of the learnings that he has, which he would like to share with the community. So, hi Sachin, thanks for your time.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Have you here. Yeah. So Sachin, tell me, you were working in Singapore, you quit that job, and you came to India and started off this venture. What was the thought process behind that? Why did you want to get into this space?
A thought process, if I technically evaluate this, it was sustainability. This business was something which is, I don't think in coming 100 years, this business is going to die because everybody needs food. And, we are not in a stage where we are developing these capsules where you pop a capsule and you are done for the day. We are not there yet. So when I was rationalizing certain businesses, this business stuck for this reason itself, that I have long time to play in this business. It is not that it is a 5-6 year bubble and then it is all gone. Because I was looking at other businesses also. I'm not a very technical person, but because I was in Singapore and it is a very tech driven city. So people were into making apps and all these kind of things. So, but I realized that, these things, they work for 3-4 years, 5 years, maybe. You earn good amount of money and then you have to exit.
Correct.
I wanted a little more time and, I wanted to explore a new field, because I don't come from a business family. Nobody in my family has ever gotten into business. My father is still working.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So you're not even from an agri background, I suppose. So
no,
how did this entire journey happen?
I have academically, I've done my MBA in mergers and acquisition. So I was totally ready for the corporate thing. But so when I came back to India, I wanted to start a small restaurant, basically, because I'm into cooking and everything. So then what happened is, to procure vegetables, somebody suggested me that you'll have to go to the vegetable market 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's how you procure, good quality vegetables. Otherwise, if you go 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you'll get all waste material. So I went 9, 10 o'clock and I could literally sense that, okay, this is all the leftovers that are there. So I went to the market in the morning, and that's how, I got connected to one of the farmer who had come with cucumbers. So I thought that, this is something coming from Bombay and all that. But no, it was just coming 20 kilometers from that marketplace. So I said that, okay, if I can visit your farm. He said, okay. And surprisingly, he had a greenhouse. He had a 1 acre greenhouse. So I thought that, okay, this greenhouse, I've been hearing it. And this is the first time I'm seeing it. Because when you're in, I think, 5th and 6th grade, they teach you greenhouse effect and all these things. But I had never seen, even after completing my master's, I had never seen a greenhouse. So that's what, and the uniformity of the production and everything, that what took me by surprise, that, oh, these things really happen, So then I started working on it. First of all, I had to, zero down a land, first of all, because as I told you that, Gujarat has this landlocked system and I can buy land even if I want to. It is a huge amount to invest, but even if we want, we cannot buy because we are not from Gujarat. So I had to rent it. Rent is reasonable here. Land is available. So then we rented a land, and then we had to, start with a greenhouse. It was a project worth 80 lakhs at that point of time. And little construction and everything had started, but then still I was not convinced, whether I should go. And there were other people also who were, I was consulting, and they were helping me out to zero down, my vision.
Okay.
So then suddenly, not suddenly, but over taking few evaluations and everything, we decided that, okay, we have taken land, we will do agriculture, but we'll get into open field, which is, much easier to handle, and you get more time to actually react. Greenhouse is something which is more, I would say, it is not complex, but it is more professional.
Yeah.
You need experience to handle a greenhouse. Okay, so we started with the open field. I planted about 3,000 Thai guava plants. That's how it started in 2014-15.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So today you're going to be sharing insights on how one can make agriculture a profitable business venture itself. So we will pick on some of your learnings that you've had over this period now. So firstly, what criteria do you evaluate while offering your service to a farmer?
So as of now, we are working on about 450 acres. That means I'm associated with about 75 to 80 farmers, big and small. Okay. So the evaluation, first and foremost thing that because I have, you can say like 60% of my clients are corporate clients, doctors, they're running engineering companies and all that. So first and foremost thing that I ask them is time. How much time you can spend. The other day I was talking to a chartered accountant, and he said that, okay, my value is 5,000 rupees per hour. The chartered accountancy services that I offer to my client, I charge, if you sum it up, I charge 5,000 rupees per hour. Will agriculture give me that? I said, no, agriculture will not give you that.
Correct.
It is one of the most thankless jobs that are there in the market, right? So I said that you employ somebody. You can easily employ somebody for 10,000-15,000 rupees per month, and they will give their blood and sweat for you. There are people, young graduates from agriculture university who are willing to work. So first and foremost thing, we ask them how much time we can you can give, and then where do you want to stop it. By that I mean, if this particular farmer says that, okay, I don't want to get into selling. Okay, I just want my produce to be picked up from my farm, or I will send it to it. So these are two things, most important thing. Around this, we built a geometry kind of a thing, where we suggest them that, okay, these are particular 1, 2, 3 crops that you can get into, so that it suits your time. You get proper return on your investment, and nothing is mismanaged. Because suppose, see, if my company is doing a project in X village, it is a talk around the farmers that, okay, this company is doing this, I don't know what is happening. These farmers, they have a good communication of what each of them are doing. So what happens is that if I fail to deliver, or if the farmer is failing to, on their commitment, then it is a failure for my company.
Correct.
Because then nobody would trust me in that village.
True.
And approximately in a small village in Gujarat, we have got approximately, say, 1,000 to 1,500 acres of land. And I see that as business. That, today I have 2 farmers in this village. Tomorrow, or maybe 2 years or 1 year down the line, I want to have 10 farmers in this village. It helps me to cater them properly.
Correct.
And I can then dedicate a single person to that village, that, okay, you are appointed for this particular village itself. So these are 2 main criteria. And then, of course, land quality, water quality, availability of labor, most important, one of the most important, because labor is, unskilled labor, very difficult to find.
Correct.
And location. how far it is from the market or from the highway, so that if we arrange some outstation client to pick up the fruits, how convenient is it for him to do the logistics, manage logistics and everything.
Okay.
So these are the few
criteria
things that we take care of.
Okay. So with your experience now, having worked with so many farmers, so how important do you think it is to integrate crop production with animal husbandry and probably grow more diversified crops rather than just going for a monocropping system?
Sir, see, what I have experienced, that as you mentioned, this animal husbandry. So in village, this thing is going on because each and every farmer, like now it has reduced, I can say about 40% reduction. But in general, these farmers, they have cattle, for their daily source of milk and everything they have. But now to get this into something which we call as integrated farming solution, where you have got 10-15 cows, 10-15 goats, a little section for poultry, and then a little section for agriculture. This requires at least, out of my experience, I can say about 30 to 40 acre of land.
Okay.
And a very good hardworking team member. Because you know how difficult it is to deal with livestock.
Correct.
We are not sure about this season. Gujarat has never experienced such extended rainfall.
Yeah.
Today also, we have got this thing that, okay, it will rain anytime.
Yeah.
So Gujarat, generally, we are, you can say we are experiencing extended rainfall of about 1 month now. So these things, it affects livestock, crops, everything.
Correct.
So animal husbandry is a very good option, but then you have to have space for them, for livestock to move around and to grow their green fodder then and there itself.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's any point in having 10-15 cows and then asking a man to take them out for grazing and everything.
Yeah.
So then whatever they are eating, that is what you are going to use on your field, cow dung, urine. That is what you are going to use. So that has to be of the topmost quality to give you best result in your crops.
Correct.
That is how the whole chain works.
Okay.
That is how farmers like you, me, we are trying to build and move that cycle smoothly.
Correct.
That we have our own set of cattle so that we are not dependent upon somebody else to procure these things, because we don't know how, genuine.
Correct. And we also see a lot of issues in that. Across when
they mix water, they mix mud, they mix all sort of things.
Correct.
And the monocropping thing that you mentioned, that that was my main focus when I started taking turnkey projects, because we experienced that the entire village is doing the same crop. Not 10-15 farmers, but the entire village, because they think that, okay, it is a safe thing. Everybody is doing it. If we drown, everybody is drowning.
Everybody. Yeah.
But they are happy with that. Surprisingly.
Correct.
So, and the younger generation in villages, they do not want to take agriculture as their profession. They are happy getting, these marginal jobs in city and in industrial areas because of these things only.
Correct. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Because entire village is doing drumsticks. Entire village is doing tomatoes. Now, if there is a virus that affects tomato, entire village,
plot is gone.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. And then if you look at the commercial aspect also, if I am a big time trader and I trade in tomatoes, I will exploit your resources, because I know you have nowhere else to go.
Correct.
There are 10, not even 10, 4 or 5 big players for one particular crop in one particular season, and they will boss you.
Yeah. And there's also the demand supply thing which happens. And many times we see supply overshooting demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I always say to my farmers and those who are associated with us or not associated with, that at least compliment your fellow farmer.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
You know, don't pull his leg down, because we are all in the same boat.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's very important.
Help to come over certain fears. They have got fear, you know, that okay, if we do not know the agronomy of, suppose, capsicum, if they are doing tomato, they can easily do capsicum. You know, the agronomy is just about the same.
So that education is needed.
Yeah, that education is needed. And we need to take out the fear from their mind.
Correct. So, Sachin, so how does a farmer increase the value of their farm products other than probably going through the processing route? Are there any other ways which they can add value?
See, I'll tell you what I experienced. Okay, when I started farming, you know, like all the other places that I've been to, farm and folk, farm and table thing was really in. But you know, place like India, it is really difficult to maintain these things. Because banana is growing, suppose in Bangalore in particular season, right?
Yeah.
The rest of 6 months, banana is being procured from Maharashtra.
Yeah.
So I cannot commit my client that, okay, you know, I'll supply you banana round the year. Yeah, from my farm. Okay, so that was a problem. So what during this lockdown, because I said, you know, we are working with so many farmers and so many diversified crops, we had committed them that, okay, you know, we will buy your crop. That's how we work. So during the lockdown, they said that, okay, now who will buy our crop?
Yeah.
So, you know, we still bought it. We had our resources, we, you know, sold it. And then we also, in that period, we started a retail chain. You know, we had set up all our fruits and vegetable in a van, and then used to sell. Okay. So, but what we experienced is that after lockdown, these guys, they stopped buying from us.
Oh.
Because their old vegetable vendors, which they were comfortable with, they were back into business. Yeah, during the lockdown, they didn't have the permission to go out and sell it. We had, because we were farmers and we requested the authorities that, you know, we are in so and so situation. So now what I personally did, we have, you know, recently launched a drink called kombucha.
Okay.
Yeah, you might have heard about it.
Yes.
So we use our farm fresh fruits in that. So now we are selling that kombucha. So we have realized that selling kombucha is easy than selling fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Why? Because this is something new.
Correct.
Now, after 5-6 times of buying that kombucha, now I have introduced my fruits and vegetables again. Because there is this trust now.
Correct.
That, okay, we are buying a processed thing from this guy. You know, this is something good. So you know, for other farmers, what we suggest, complement some small industries, complement small restaurants. You know, if we suggest that, you know, participate in farmers market. Yeah, might find a big client, you know, who says that, okay, 10 kgs number, you know, beetroot, cabbage, this I want 10 kgs each every day. And parallelly, you can plan your plantation that way, that you are able to deliver 10 kgs every day. Correct. Then, you know, we were hearing this, that we don't have any farmers market. I said that this is the best opportunity. You start a farmers market. You start it. There is, to start a farmers market, there is no big investment unless and until you want to go full on corporate. Correct. But by that time, you will get some or the other sponsor, and you will be through with that. Okay. So approaching hotels, small restaurants, you know, and clubs. Correct. Here, you know, and these hotels and all, they are now complementing small time farmers, and they want to trade with farmers also.
Yes.
That you have got inside knowledge. We cannot taste each and every papaya, but you, by looking or by smelling, you can tell that, okay, this lot is good enough. So Taj, Marriott, these are some hotels, they are pushing us, and we have recommended a lot of farmers to these hotels, and they are really appreciating the effort.
Okay. Congratulations on that. I think that's very nice to hear. So the way I look at it is, there is one challenge with respect to the awareness levels with the farmers itself, to understand what type of crops or how to add value, or how to complement some of the low-hanging fruits which you spoke about. And there is also the other challenge of probably marketing their product also, right? Because there is, end of the day, the consumer angle also comes to it, right? And we've also seen that, because generally when somebody sees a tomato which is rich red in color with all the chemicals in it, the consumer thinks that's a good one, versus something which is organic, which may not look as attractive as this. So they believe that probably this is not of a good quality, and hence from a price point also they may not get it, right? So there are a lot of these challenges which the farmers face. So as Root Agro, how can you help farmers from providing an end-to-end solution, right? So right from consulting and awareness to probably marketing the final product.
So sir, how we work is that when we approach a farmer, or the farmer approaches us, first of all, as I mentioned earlier about regarding their time and where they want to stop this business. This is endless. Opportunities and the value addition is endless.
Correct.
Where they want to stop. So that makes the decision making really easy for us. Okay. So as you mentioned, how we can help them. As you mentioned that there is a red tomato, and then there is green and red tomato with a hole.
Correct.
My mother is not going to pick that tomato up.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Correct.
We ladies in India, or my mother, or anybody,
that's with
they want to pick the exact size of lady finger from that hawker or that stall. Okay. So what happens is that what we follow a conventional method of organic and chemical use. The reason being that these days the pest and everything, they have become so dangerous that these organic matters, they are sometimes they are not as much effective as the chemical ones. Because just imagine, I have got my personal farm, we have got 5,000 Thai guava trees. Now, if my fruit is ready for harvesting, and then there is a fruit fly or something that has attacked my fruit, now I will not go for the organic one. I will go for a chemical one, so that my crop is safe. Now, because here I am talking about 10 to 15 lakh worth of fruit. I cannot put that at risk. So if I talk stage wise, after evaluating all the points and everything of the farmer, we first decide for the best crop that is suitable for his lifestyle. Like he says, I don't have time, we ask them to get into essential oils. Lemongrass, Palmarosa, Jamarosa, very easy to maintain, nobody will disturb it. Just visit your farm after every 30 days also, it is fine. Okay. Then if we talk about fruits and vegetable, you require constant monitoring, checking and evaluation, how it is growing and everything. So for that, we provide 15-day agronomy service.
Okay.
And that is not through WhatsApp or any video calling. It is physical agronomy service, where my agronomist, my team member will come there and, suggest you the crop. We are not tied up with any company. Okay. So we are not going to get any margins out of it. It is based on our experience that, okay, X company, X product works best for micronutrient. I don't want to take names, but okay, like that.
Yeah.
We have evaluated, we have made a chart, and we have zeroed down these things. Then we have created an ecosystem where we provide all the infrastructure facilities. Like suppose you want to get into greenhouse or net house. So we have got a team, we have got all the material and everything. So we prepare all the infrastructure for it. We then set the geometry for your farm. You know, if you have a 10-acre plot, so we would always suggest you to go for a combination of two major crops. For example, you have got 5 acres of pomegranate and 5 acres of either banana or papaya. See, now banana and papaya will give you fruit after 1 year.
Yeah.
Pomegranate will give you fruit, say commercial fruiting, after 2 years. So, okay. And in between these pomegranate plants, we will suggest our farmer to go for a secondary crop like chili or brinjal, something like that. So that he doesn't have to wait for that banana crop to get ready for his first, output from that project. That is how we plan for our farm. One of a very, so to say, hit combination, or, which is in as of now, and farmers are preferring, is dragon fruit, drumstick, and then a third crop during the season, maybe watermelon or chili or something like that. Dragon fruit will give you fruit after 1.5 to 2 years. Drumstick will start giving you fruits after 6 months. And watermelon or chili will start giving you fruits after 45 days, say 45-60 days.
Correct.
So once you are into that business, after 60 days, you are, getting money out of it. At least the labor cost or whatever capital that you have invested, you'll start
reaping that back.
Okay. There will be some appreciation. Correct. And then, of course, we take care of the pre-harvesting stage, post-harvesting stage, and then we give our farmer an option that either we will buy it from you or we will set up a selling, channel for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that is assured. Rest assured. And farmer can also sell it outside. There is no compulsion.
It should not be just with you. They can choose.
Because see, suppose if I am giving them 50 rupees for Thai guava and they are getting 52 rupees somewhere outside, please.
Yeah, that's very nice. That's very nice.
We are not here only to earn money.
So like, we were saying agriculture is, it's not a profession or a job, it's a way of life. And it's really nice that entrepreneurs like you are leading that forward. So all the best for your future, Sachin, and
thank you.
We'll definitely be in touch and explore any possible collaborations in future as well.
Sure, sir. Nice talking.
Thank you, Sachin.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice